Hello and welcome to Mastering in the Box. In today's video I want to show you an alternative to multiband compression by using a dynamic EQ. Hi folks, Smudge here, and in today's video I'm going to show you an alternative to using a multiband compressor. Multiband compression can be great, but it's not always the best tool for the job all of the time, so in today's video I'm going to show you an alternative. As per always, if you want to know more about digital mastering, then make sure you hit that subscribe button below and make sure you tip that bell and select all to receive notifications on all of our videos moving forward. And if you want to support the channel, there'll be further links in the description of where you can support the channel through buymeacoffee.com, and whether it's buy me a coffee or subscribing to the membership, any support will be greatly appreciated. So many thanks, and let's get into today's video. So we're inside the Studio One, and the song I'm featuring this week is the song Empty Bottle Blues by Nick Graveswell. This is a track that comes from the EP Songs to Drink To, and I had great fun mastering this track. All links in the description down below where you can check these songs out. Nick's a great singer-songwriter. They check the EP out, it's Songs to Drink To, and this is the track Empty Bottle Blues. When it comes to this track, there was one thing in particular that I wanted to do, which was controlling some of the individual frequencies and the dynamic range of those frequencies. And when it comes to mastering, a standard compressor is what we classify a broadband compressor, because it's one single band, a broadband from 0Hz to 20k or potentially above. A multiband compressor splits that broadband into individual bands. We can then process those individual bands independently and get different dynamic range compression for each of those independent bands. So in this particular example, there were two things that I wanted to do, which was control the low end. I wanted to give it some more weight and some more body, and also with the high end, with a lot of rock music, if it's very focused in the high-end data through cymbals, hi-hats, it has the tendency sometimes to sound a bit harsh, so we can tame that high-end data by using the multiband compression or high-end compression on those high frequencies. What we're going to do is treat this very much like a de-esser. So a de-esser is what is widely known as a vocal processor. It's a great tool to use in mastering because it's effectively the high end of a multiband compressor. So we're going to use it a bit like a de-esser in that particular range. So when it comes to the low frequencies here, I've set this to, I just wanted to do say 0 to around 80 Hz. I just want to control that real low end. The low mids, mids and high mids are all bypassed, and I bypass the high frequencies just for the time being. And then with the low band, I've literally got a 3:1 ratio. There's a little bit of makeup gain, relatively quick attack, slow release, and just a threshold to taste. So let's take a brief listen to what's happening with the low end. So what we're effectively doing, we're adding weight and roundness to the low end. The kick was very kind of transient heavy, and way that we're using the multiband compressor in this way is to kind of give it some more weight, to bring up some of those more, some of those wider frequencies around the kick drum. And with the high end, once again, it's just being used to control the harshness or the brightness from those high end frequencies. So with this particular band, with the high end, we got once again a 3.1 to 1 ratio. Relatively quick attack, slow release, and then threshold to taste. And let's take another listen to the high end and just see what this is doing here. So it's just being used to tame those high end frequencies and give some more weight and some more control to that low end. But the challenge I have with a multiband compressor is whilst we can split the bands, sometimes it's still not giving enough flexibility. So sometimes you don't want to compress an entire range. Sometimes you might just want to compress a more smaller frequency range. And how can we do that? Well, we can move some of these bands around. You can really get quite narrow with the bands, Yes, but it still doesn't give you ultimate flexibility. And let's just take these high-end frequencies as a particular example. If I solo this, and let's play this again and take a listen. So we've got cymbal data, we've got vocal data, we've got snare data, and once again we can really kind of bring this up and we can narrow this band, but it's still not going to give us a great amount of flexibility. So what's the alternative? And the alternative is Dyamic EQ. So here we have the Dyamic EQ, and in this particular example I'm using the TDR Nova by Tokyo Dawn Labs. And what a Dyamic EQ does is it gives you the ability to use the plugin as an EQ, but also with the added functionality of applying compression to your chosen EQ moves. So what do I mean by this? Well, we know we wanted to give some more low end weight to the track, we know we wanted to give it some more body and depth in that low end, but we want to really focus this around the kick. We don't want to do too much with the bass. So here I've added a low shelf at 64 Hz and it's 2.3 dBs. And let's take a brief listen to see exactly what this is doing. So it's certainly given a little bit more volume to those low frequencies, but one of the things we want to do is give the impression of depth and some more roundedness to that low end. So whilst using an EQ boost in this way, it's going to raise some of those frequencies. If you think about what compression does, yes, it reduces the dynamic range by controlling the transients, but it also brings up the lower frequencies or the lower volume frequencies. So it gives you more consistency, giving you that greater feel of depth and body to those frequencies. And this is what we can do here. If we click this threshold button, we can effectively add some compression to give some more roundedness to that low end. And once again, ratio 3:1, and the threshold is there just to get a little bit of gain reduction. Now listen to it again. We've increased those frequencies using the EQ, and we're going to apply a little bit of say compression just to give some more roundedness to that tone. So let's take another listen. I drank more than my fill. I drank far too much, but I've been trying to forget you and your cursed touch, but I've got empty bottle blues. Come drag me down. So it's really given us much more control and flexibility of how we control that low end. Once again, we're giving that a little bit of boost. It's much more focused on around the kick drum, and we're giving that boost with the EQ, but we're also using the compression then to even out those frequencies and give it some more consistency and more body and weight. And we can do that in different areas. So for example, let's take a look at the high end now. And once again, what I've got here is a small EQ move. So rather than using a high EQ shelf, I'm using it as a slight cut, and once again it's 0.8 dB, just taking away some of those frequencies. But what I'm also able to do is then apply some compression as well to give some more evenness to those high end frequencies. So let's take a listen to this and listen to what it's doing with the high end. I don't know what to So it's just a greater way of giving some more control without affecting lots of different instruments in the particular frequency. We really don't want to focus too much on the high end of the vocal here. So what I'm able to do is set the EQ band, the frequency at 10.7K, just with a little bit of gain reduction with the EQ move, and then just applying some compression to even it out. And we can go a little bit further. For example, I've applied another little band of compression here, and it's 662 Hz. And all this is doing is taking out some of that really nasal frequencies. If you get that kind of, that really honky nasal, it's around the 600 Hz range. And just by taking out a small 1.5 dB cut there, and just once again, we're just evening it out with the compression. Take a listen to this as well. So lastly, let's play the song again and let's take a listen with the entire plugin bypassed, and then we'll bring it back in and we'll just listen to what we've done here with the 3 moves that we've made. So it's just really giving us greater control about how we're using that dynamic range compression. And so we can use it very much like we do with EQ, and making those small cuts and just use that dynamic range compression to even those sounds out. So if you want something that gives you a greater flexibility, then check out a dynamic EQ rather than the multiband compressor, because whilst the multiband compressor can be great, it's not going to always be the right tool for the job, and this is going to allow you to have even greater flexibility as to how you process your tracks. So that's it for this week's video, and I hope you found this useful. Some of these recent videos I've been doing is just try and give you some more different techniques in which you can do things that are going to give you a slightly different result. I hear all too often that people say mastering is about limiting and multiband compression, and whilst limiters and multiband compressors can be great, they're not always the best tools for the job, and there are so many different tools that we can do to give us slightly better results depending on what we want to achieve. And for this particular example, I really think a dynamic EQ works much better, and if you want that extra flexibility and you don't want to start messing with big bands of compression, then maybe check out a dynamic EQ, because it's much more flexible and streamlined, I think, to really focus on those frequencies you want to control rather than setting smaller bands, and it can just get all messy. So check out a dynamic EQ. I hope you found this useful, and if you do use a dynamic EQ, let me know how you're getting on in the comments down below. I'd really like some feedback from you guys as to how you're getting on with some of these techniques that I'm showing you. So if you use this technique and you get some great results or even some bad results, let me know so that I know how you're using it, and maybe I can give you some further guidance. So once again, I hope you found it useful. As always, if you want to know more about digital mastering, then make sure you hit that subscribe button below, and make sure you tick that bell and select all to receive notifications on all of our videos moving forward. And as I say, if you do want to support the channel, there'll be links in the description as well where you can support the channel through buymeacoffee.com. And if it is just buy me a coffee, or if you want to join the membership scheme, there's lots available in the membership scheme. Then check out the links below, buymeacoffee.com, and we'd love to have you part of the Mastering the Box membership community. So all that's left for me to say is I hope you keep safe and well, and I'll see you in the next video coming real soon.